Welcome back. We're talking with three newly elected state legislators, and a lot has been written about public employee pensions recently. From state legislators to Tea Party rallies, a vocal backlash is rising against what some perceive is a too generous retirement package for state and local government workers. For many taxpayers, it's a question of fairness. Why should the public employees receive better retirement packages than the recession-battered private sector? Some lawmakers have argued that public employee pensions are bankrupting state and local governments. Others say that such criticism is based on broad generalities and the facts simply don't match the rhetoric. So, which is true?
Certainly we need to start to model our public pension system more closely to the private sector. We have what's estimated to be a $500 billion unfunded pension liability. That's 5 times the state's general fund. It's clearly not sustainable. So we have to start working, Democrats and Republicans alike, to address that problem. And if we don't begin to address public pension reform today, we're just delaying the problem, compounding it, and that's not fair to anybody. So yes, it's something we need to address immediately.
What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
Well, you're basically pitting the private sector versus the public sector, and people that work really hard are trying to save their dollars, and you've got other sides trying to take their money to give it to another group.
Now, you might have some teachers that say that they work pretty hard too. So,
but you've got lots of people that work really hard and are responsible with their money, and you want to obviously honor promises made, but you've got to be careful of the promises made in the future and find ways to fund what we need to do. You want to have a benefits package that attracts people to come to work for our schools. You want to attract people to come work and hire the best for our fire and for our safety, but there gets to a point where a lot of other people need to be looked at, and we need to concentrate on what needs to be there and how to fund it. But it seems like Sacramento's always looking for a new way to hire more people, and we need to find a way to have the people that are there be more efficient, scale down the department, scale down a lot of the employees that don't need to be there and serve no real purpose to California.
Well, you know, I do want to talk about the pension issue specifically as it relates to public safety. It's interesting that even people that criticize public employee pensions kind of take a hands-off attitude toward police and fire. Yet when you look at local governments, 60%, 70% of their budget is public safety. And you take a look at the pension issue specifically, those are the folks with the 3% at 50 equation where they get 3% a year for their pension. So if they start at 20 and then end at 50, that's 30 years times 3, that's 90% of their salary in retirement. So should public employee pensions, specifically public safety, be on the table?
They should never be first in line. And one of the things we have to realize is that not all organized labor is created equal. When we're talking about public safety, police, fire, sheriffs, there is absolutely no reason to not prioritize them in the budget. I'd also remind you that Fresno has one of the best funded pensions for law enforcement in the nation. The
city of Fresno as opposed to the county? That's
correct.
Okay. What is your feeling on that? Because this is kind of a difficult issue. Even, Meg Whitman, when she was talking about public employee pension reform, she stayed away from public safety. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've always stood up for public safety. They're the ones that keep our families safe at night. And out where I live, it gets pretty rough. I live out on a farm, and we've had a lot of copper thefts. We've had a lot of in-home invasions, especially friends of mine have been broken into. So no, public safety is important to all of us, and that's why they're always the ones. The reason why they're always the ones on the forefront is because that's a hot button issue that taxpayers seem to agree with. They like public safety, they like education, and they want to fund those things. They want to take care of those people. And then,
should they be off the table?
Well, they need to be looked at and make sure that there's no abuses, and because there are abuses in every department in California.
Tough issue. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a tough issue, but police and firefighters put their lives literally on the line for us every day. We have seen that firsthand in Modesto with a couple of our firefighters a couple years ago. It's devastating, but no, I don't believe that anybody can be completely exempt. I don't think they should be first, as Assemblywoman Halderman said, but nobody's exempt. And even the police and firefighter unions, if you talk to them, they know that the current system we have is not sustainable. We need to work together to find a system that will allow us to recruit and retain the very best employees, but at the same time uses taxpayer dollars more wisely.
Very quickly, another one, about 30 seconds. Any quick reforms you'd like to see in public employee pensions?
Yes, I think we need to start having an equitable employer and employee match in who pays for the pension, and I also think that we need to raise the age limits. Those are the first two I would start with. There are a number of others, but those are the first two.
Any suggestions?
Model more closer to the private side.
More like a 401k type plan? Any suggestions, Linda, about how to improve the situation?
Sure. I would start with the non-critical services, the state workers, and use more of a defined contribution plan.
Which is a 401k for our viewers who don't know the difference between the defined benefit and defined contribution. It gets very technically complicated.
I would not recommend that for law enforcement at this time, though. We cannot afford to hit that sector hard, especially in a down economy.
Okay, well, when we come back, we'll talk about some specific projects like high-speed rail and an adequate supply of water that some think will get our economy moving again. That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddy Report.